Hello everybody, I've got an unboxing for you today. This one's a little bit different from my usual unboxings because it's only one cactus plant in this package and it's an epiphytic cactus. So I'm going to be unwrapping it and then potting it up into a cactus substrate suitable for epiphytic cactus, and I'll show you the ingredients that I'll be using. Okay everybody, this is the cactus plant that I've ordered, and you might have seen that there was a note in with the package, and there's another little tiny envelope here which I'm going to also open, and I'll read you out the letter. Dear Claire, I tried to pack the cactus carefully, a bit tricky. If any snaps off, just pop it back in soil, and they are surprisingly hardy. The mother plant is neglected and flowers every year in spring. I have added a small cutting of another cactus in the brown envelope, as you are obviously keen on cacti. Hope you are pleased and it or they thrive once potted on. Best wishes, Linda. That's amazing. Thank you, Linda. If you are watching this channel and you see me unwrapping the plants, thank you very much. How could she tell that I was keen on cacti? That's amazing. Okay, so we'll save that one till last. This cactus is a LEPISMIUM. Okay, so I'll try and be careful with this. It's wrapped in a little bit of damp tissue as well, and bearing in mind the last couple of days we've had it 30-degree heat yesterday and up to about 32 or 33 degrees Celsius today, so it's been extortionately hot. So these have been in the post a couple of days or so. So look at that, it's a substantial rooted cutting there, quite a few stems. You can see this is the main cutting here, and the new stems have sprouted off. Let's get unwrapping this mystery cactus cutting. Well, can anybody that's watching this video identify this cactus? It's an epiphytic cactus, obviously. Here's a look at the spine arrangement and the way that the new stems grow. The modified stem edge is like scalloped. When you look at these so-called leaves, they're technically not called leaves, they're actually modified stems. If you look very carefully, that little tiny brown notch growing out of that stem is probably like an aerial type of root that they shoot out of the stems. And if you ever see them on your epiphytic cactus, you see them a lot on Hylocereus undatus, which is commonly called the dragon fruit cactus. They send out lots of these like tendrils. They're actually aerial roots and nothing to worry about. And you don't need to cut them off, you can leave them on. If you don't like the look of them, you can cut them off. In their natural environment, they send these out to latch on to more of the branches or twigs, and so they can move around and latch onto other areas and re-establish themselves, and for better anchorage. where it was taken from the mother plant. You can see that's where it's been torn off, and it's still slightly, not completely calloused, so I'm just going to give it a few more days, and then I'll either pot it up in a little bit of water or put it into some damp potting mix to establish roots. So if anybody has got any ideas on what this specific epiphytic cactus could be, I know there's lots of different ones out there and lots of hybrids, but let me know in the comments. Right, so let's get potting up and mixing up the potting soil ready to pot up my LEPISMIUM. So here I'm currently in the middle of sterilising this orchid potting mix. I've put it in here for 3 minutes, stirred it, and it's just coming to the end of the last 3 minutes now. And what I did was I rehydrated it with water before you put it in the microwave. That way it creates the steam necessary to sterilise the substrate. This is the orchid potting mix that I use for my epiphytic cactus. It contains pine bark and ceramous clay granules. So if we look at it again, you can see the pine bark, and these are the ceramous, the orange coloured parts. And like I've just said, they went in the microwave for 6 minutes, and now it's a dry texture again. I like to sterilise the soils that you get in the packets from the store or the shop, because they can contain fungus or bacteria or spores or anything like that in there, and it's always best to sterilise it before you use it. It's okay if you're doing it on a small scale, but it can be a bit more difficult if you're trying to do it on a large scale. I'm going to be adding just plain cocoa coir. This is the pre-flushed clean cocoa coir, so it doesn't contain all that horrible salt. Make sure you get a reputable brand that clearly states that it's been flushed and washed. Then I've got my grit here, flint grit, chick flint grit, for extra drainage. Then I've got some bone meal for fertiliser, my activated charcoal granules, and then just for good measure, my Ceylon cinnamon powder. This time I won't be adding any pumice or lava rock, because this is an epiphytic cactus and they grow up in the tree canopies, and they attach themselves to the branches and the trunks and the notches and the crevices within the tree, and that's where they get most of their nutrients from, with the decaying leaves that fall from the branches and collect in the nooks and crannies, the water and moisture that collects there. And they're very shaded in the canopy, so they don't like direct sunlight. Because I don't have a lot of epiphytic cactus, I don't worry too much about stocking, pine bark on its own. I just buy that bog standard orchid potting mix, and then I just adjust it like I'm doing here. This way, by adding some more cocoa coir, I've given it a bit more substance, and epiphytic cactus like to remain a lot more moist than your desert type of cacti, but equally they like to have a lot of drainage as well. The ceramous will help hold on to moisture. The cocoa coir bulks out a bit more and also holds on to moisture and to the nutrients, and the gravel is there for the drainage. And I always add charcoal and bone meal as standard to my potting mixes. The pot I'm using is a 9 cm diameter pot by a 9 cm height. I filled it about halfway, just under halfway, So I'm not sure what the roots look like yet. So let's take the cactus out of the pot that it came in. You can see that it's got a nice established root system here, so I don't really want to be disturbing it too much. It's just a case of shaking off as much loose soil, but I'm not going to do anything to the roots. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do, because when I'm touching it, it feels quite solid, so you know that's got roots in it. So I'm going to put it into the pot now. So you can see that it's taking up most of the pot space. So I'm going to just sprinkle around some of that mixture around the edges just to secure it. So you can see there's about a 1 centimetre gap going all the way around. You might think that I might need a larger pot, but it is sat up to about here, so there's plenty more space for the roots to grow. And epiphytic cacti prefer restricted pots. They don't like to be overly potted. They're quite happy to sit in a pot for a couple of years with a restricted root space. So just round the last bit now, settle the mix, have another look, then add a little bit more into this gap here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to top dress it, just to make it look a little bit more presentable, because it looks a little bit of a mess right now. Just to get all the debris away from the main stem. I'm using stones today purely because they've got a bit more weight to them, and I just want it to help secure the cactus in position, give it a bit more weight to the pot. So here I'm just lifting up the stems. Give the stem a bit more of a graceful lean. Just add more stones as you need to, and that way it will get more support. So there you go. You can see now it's a lot more arching, but it's got the support underneath it, whereas before it was lead flat. Now this one has got a lot more stones around it, so it's now more supported. I'll add a few more here just to fill the gaps. And this little piece here is probably far too small for it to even sustain itself, to even develop any roots, but I will stick it in a little bit of water. But that was the only piece that actually was fallen off when I unpacked. If you look carefully at the main stem here, you can see those little shoots that I was telling you about that come out of the actual stem. And as I turn it, you'll see there are some more. And there's nothing to worry about, they're absolutely fine. So if you should see these on your epiphytic cactus, there is no cause for concern and it's just a natural part of the growing process. I'll show you the other epiphytic cactus that I have currently hanging in my kitchen window, just to give you an idea of what cactus I have. So there's this one here which I bought probably about a year ago now as a small cutting, and I've just noticed this shoot coming off. So it's about, this one's about 25 to 30 centimetres. It's a bit bad light, but you can get the idea. And then on the other side of the window there's one which is probably about 30 centimetres or so now, probably a bit taller. And they start to shoot out, you see at the top. This was just sold to me as Epiphyllum anguliger. It's been putting off loads of stems within the last year, so it's really establishing itself now, and it's got those little aerial roots pinging off there. So there they are hanging in the window, and they've been there for about a year as small cuttings, and they're really starting to establish themselves now. So this window faces pretty much east, so it gets the morning sunshine, and it's late afternoon now, so the sun's now on the other side of the house. And they haven't flowered yet, so I'm waiting for them to flower, hopefully maybe by next year. So I'm going to look forward to that. Okay then, so I hope you enjoyed this little unboxing video, and thank you very much for watching and for all your comments. Bye!